Today I'm going to share with you 15 4th of July ideas, and this one's a little different. I'm Brandy, and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Stick around. So this is a compilation video, but y'all, it's going to be a little different because I'm going to do a brand new voiceover for the entire 2 hours. Keep watching. Alright, so this was project number 1. This was a firework sign. These are all projects I've done in the past, but we're going to go over them and see how we did. So I got a little sign and some stars here and just a little block. And we're going to see what we can make out of these pieces. I am cutting off the string here. Y'all, had my nails done. What about that? You don't see that very often. So how are we going to address this? All right, there's holes. So we're going to take that tape and put over the holes in the back. And when I learned this little trick, it was a real game changer for me. Because I had done projects previously that had the little holes in there, and you try to plug it up with paint, it takes forever to dry. But doing it this way has been helpful, and I've done it like this, I think, every project that had holes in the top, which is pretty much everything you get from Dollar Tree. So we're going to use the back part, it looks like, for a stand. Just adding some glue. You can use building blocks for these sorts of things. Those tower blocks, those would certainly work. I might be doing a little critiquing of my video skills in this video as well. Alright, so I'm going to take these apart. And I remember I got these at Dirt Cheap, I do believe. And they were like 90% off. They were very cheap. But you can find little signs like this, I mean, pretty much anywhere. These little stars you can get in. What you could do is those balloon weights that you get at Dollar Tree. They have the little cellophane on the bottom, or the little, the metallic paper, and then the metallic stars that are on top. You could always cut those off and use those in this project. I think that would work. Since this little block is supposed to be like a picture frame, I'm going to use it just to stick it right down in there. It fits in that little slot. But if you don't have the little slots in the back like that, you can just tape it right on the back, or glue it right to the back of it, and that'll be fine. But you're still going to need some type of a little block or something in the back to balance it so that it'll stand up if you want this to be a little standing sign. And my idea when I did these projects, well, this one in particular, was that we have 4th of July parties at my house all the time. Every year except once since we moved to Alabama, which was 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, I have done it here. So we always have I fix my bar, I put all the dishes out, I put all the food out and the things, and I use this as part of, like, the display amongst the food and things. So project number 2 will be a patriotic home sign. Y'all have seen these signs. They are definitely still out at the Dollar Tree. This is just a little block it's the top actually from a candle. A little scrap of fabric that I thrifted, and then I have some half-round wood beads here. So I'm just going to take off that label, and using the heat tool has definitely helped me as well with taking off stickers. Makes it a lot quicker, and it comes off smoothly, so that's always a plus. We always seem to be rushing for time, right? Anything we can do that'll cut that time down will make it perfect. So I wanted to do something different here. I see people put wreaths in the middle all the time of these signs, and that's great, and you can certainly do it. You could have just kept the little wreath that was on there and fixed it up, put some beads or something on it. But I wanted to just give it some more dimension, make it a little bit different than what you see every single day. Than maybe you've seen on every porch or in every home. I want to make it a little different. I've always been the kind of person that has liked to do things a little differently. I like to put my own spin on things, and that's why I created and named this channel Making It My Own DIYs, because it's so freeing not to feel locked inside of a box, I think. It's something that I've applied to a lot of things in my life, and applying that in my channel and in my creations and my art and my editing my videos. I feel like I get a chance to do that and express myself without fear of having to be exactly like somebody else, you know? And that's a really freeing feeling. So there's a little step down here on this lid, of course, where you sit it on a candle jar. And we're going to take advantage of that and put this little wreath right around it. The little beads, or the berries, I mean, they came from Dollar Tree as well. You can get those pretty much all year round, I think. In my trees you can, my Dollar Trees. So I'm just going to use that to thicken up the wreath that was already on there. And we're just going to make it a little bit better, a little beefier, right? So I'm just going to put that right down on top. You could always use, maybe if you wanted to make yours thicker, ooh, look at the heat off of that glue gun. Wow. If you wanted to make yours be a little bit higher up, and I'm just squishing that glue down, you could always use something else for dimension. You can use a regular jar lid here. If you have the round plain ornament pieces, you could use that to kind of bulk it up. Totally up to you. Also, the center of this could be painted. I had considered that when I did this project, but I decided to just go ahead and leave it as is to make it look a little more farmhousey. And I'm just taking these beads, adding a little glue, and just going all the way around here. I have to pull one of those beads off and adjust it because it's kind of wonky looking. There we go. I just pushed it up. I didn't even have to pull it off. So, you know, at this point, you could put a sticker in the middle of that. You could paint the entire thing. You could paint just the beads and leave the center open. Whatever you prefer, you can go ahead and do. I always tell y'all that. Again, making it my own means making it your own. Do whatever makes you happy. Whatever brings you joy. We don't have to impress anybody else with the things that bring us joy, because joy is something that's it's individual. You can access it. Anybody can access joy, you know, but it's kind of personalized. So whatever makes you happy, you do it, you know. You don't like farmhouse, you like glam, well, then do glam, you know. Look at this, take the inspiration and glam it up. Whatever makes you happy. You could use rhinestones on this. You could use glitter on this. You know, just make it your own. All right, so look at this gorgeous ribbon. This was from Dollar Tree. And you can probably get the same print this year. I'm going to cut this out into like a little circle. Yep, that's what I did. Y'all, I did not go back over these videos before I put them in this video for you, because I wanted to have fresh eyes on this as I was doing the voiceover. Okay, so I did put something in the middle. Yes, I did. But you don't have to. And I like the idea of using that ribbon as, you know, a piece of fabric, because that is what it is, right? It's just in a long string instead of in a block. Yes. And I could have used that red fabric over there, but I don't use that until another project. So that's another thing. I should have clipped that out when I was editing, but I didn't. See, we miss stuff. I'm not a professional. I would like to be. Oh, maybe I am. Y'all, I have a company now. Making it my own is my company. It's very exciting. Can you see how that looks? Now, leave it this way, or I'm going to do a little something different here. I have an acrylic paint marker that is blue. I'm going to take that blue and fill in all of this little section here. Red would also be very pretty here. You can use white, or you can leave it exactly blank. Heck, if you wanted to and you had different types of decor, say you wanted to make this like a bee sign that was a home sign with bees on it, you can make this black and yellow. That would be gorgeous. And though I love bees, I don't want bees in my home, right? No, we do not want them in our home. They do make a mess, and it is hard to coincide with honeybees in your house. Yeah, I like the way this one turned out. This is one that I kept and have not broke it down, not taken it apart. So I considered doing this video with just music, and I didn't want to put the commentary in it from, you know, well, the talking part, the voiceover, the original voiceovers, because I wanted to look back at these. Next project is a star mason jar. So these are the jars that you can get at Dollar Tree. It's a little MDF. I've got some plaid ribbon, and then there's that piece of red fabric. It's very primitive looking. Mod Podge and a brush, and then some jute cord. And I'm just gonna start taking everything off so we can put more things on top of it. And there we are, taking off that sticker on the back. I don't think it's necessary, you know, when you're using a dark or thick fabric to take it off. You know, I don't know. I don't guess you would have to because it would be covered up, but if you're using a paper on there, you would be able to see it through it, so I wouldn't do that. You don't want it to be nice and finished and fresh looking. So, it is pretty on the other side. I do like the print on the other side, but I wanted to do something 4th of July for this. So I'm just going to take this little scrap and put it across the bottom part here, press it down, and put my Mod Podge on top. This is another one of those things that I really enjoy doing, and that is Mod Podge. I love Mod Podging fabric. The results are just incredible. It changes that material into something completely different. It's like completely different. It turns it thick, it makes it easier to manage, it stays on there, it looks like it's painted on. It is very nice, but it still has that textural look. So it's just, you know, it gives it a little something different. So I'll cut most of this off, you know, roughly cut it off so that I can have a nice clean finish on the edge. But what really finishes it off is the sanding block. Sanding blocks, I love. I also found that you can use those, I think they're diamond something emery boards that are at Dollar Tree. They work really well for small or narrow pieces that you're working on. You know, you can really get into little areas and curves and stuff. That works really well too. I have not had very much luck finding these at my local Dollar Trees in a while, so maybe making an Amazon order. Where do y'all get your blocks, your sanding blocks? I'd really like to know, and I know you can get them at craft stores and, you know, different places, but what I'm looking for is very affordable so that I can share that with other people. You know, the people who watch my channel, they like budget friendly, and I'd like to be able to offer that to them. I'd like to help out any way I can with tips and tricks to keep it budget friendly. So I have rewrapped my jute and then just glued it in the back. And now we're going to be embellishing it. Embellishing is the fun stuff, right? Embellishing is the stuff that you can make it so personalized that the same person might have that jar and make it over, and you may see it 20 different ways. You may see it 30 different ways, but the way you make yours is unique. I love rickrack. I noticed at Easter they had some pastel rickrack. That would be really good if that's something, you know, those colors are what you like. If I would have found some orange or bright green, that would have been something great to put back for Halloween. So that's something that you might consider if you're still finding that spring stuff in your Dollar Trees. You might want to grab some of those. I think they're in sets of 3. Grab some of those and put in your crafting toolkit for later. So now what I'm making is just a stacked bow. This is easy to do. These are, and I don't know if you want to call it, it's not a stacked bow, it's a messy bow. And actually, if you look at it, it's not actually a bow. It's just a stack of ribbons. It's a ribbon stack. I guess we could call it that. But you know what I mean when I say it. Okay. Once it's tied, and always tie 2 or 3 knots if you're going to be using a string or jute, because when you start fluffing things out, you do not want it to come apart. And knots can slip so easily unless you really secure them. You can even add a little dot of hot glue on the back to make sure your knot really is locked into place. I'm going to fluff these out. I love the trims. They came from the Dollar Tree. And then the jute, and then the rickrack. I think I thrifted the rickrack. I don't believe I got that at Dollar Tree. And for those of you who are wondering, I do get most of my stuff thrifting or at the Dollar Tree. Very rarely do I get anything from a craft store. Now, The past few months, though, I've been kind of tinkering around with testing out Temu products, and I'm not sponsored, so don't worry, that's not what this video is about. This is just us chatting, right? I have found some very affordable things at Temu, and I mean better than Dollar Tree kind of thing. And the quality, in my opinion, from the things that I have bought is really good. And I have bought clothes, craft supplies, all kinds of stuff. Totally up to you though how you want to spend your money, but if you are looking to save a little bit of money, that might be the way to go. I don't know. You know, you choose, you decide. So I just took a pencil here and put this and just wrote on the top of it because again, you know, once you put that Mod Podge on there, it really makes it kind of like a paper or a solid surface. And I just wrote in a 4 to give myself some lines to kind of play with. And I'm going to take these half rounds, these little half bead things, and put them down to make a 4. Now, my sister gave me these. I probably would guess that she got them from Amazon with crafts that she was doing, but she did give me some craft supplies that were hers. So I'm not entirely sure, but I know you can get them on Temu. I know you can get them on Amazon. Heck, at this point, you could probably get half rounds at Dollar Tree. Don't quote me on that because I've never found them there, but you know, you might could. They're really doing, they've shocked me. I mean, the price increase, yes, it was a price increase and a shock to all of our systems, I think, but I think it has been worth it. I have found some fantastic things for $1.25 in there. You just got to know what you're looking for, just like thrifting. You got to know kind of what you would pay for it in the store to know if you're getting a bargain. So that is the little jar, which I love. It looks really cute on a tall tier tray. Now we're going to do a gnome sign. I never really did get into gnomes. I think they're cute and they have their place. But we're going to use the little gnome sign. This was a Christmas sign, I think, that I got from Dollar Tree. And then I'm just going to start taking it apart, peeling off the edge of the house. When you're doing projects like this and you take it like a framework off or something like that, be sure that you remove all the glue and the messiness on the back. You can even sand it if you want to, because once you get ready to glue it back down, it's going to be lumpy and bumpy looking, and you don't want that, right? You don't want a sad looking piece. You want it to look really good. You don't want people to necessarily know you did it right as soon as they look at it. You know, you don't want it to scream, oh look, it's a handcrafted piece. No, you want people to think that maybe you got it at a store. So some of these products do have staples, these signs and things from Dollar Tree. Just be sure that you use some type of a cutters or pliers and just take those out so you don't cut your hands or poke holes in your paper. These are just those little pieces of wallpaper pieces that you can get at Dollar Tree. And I just traced it out and I'm going to put it on top of here to give our house a little something extra. I think this was a project that I did in 2001, I think. And at one point, my channel, I was really into farmhouse, and I did almost everything farmhouse or rustic farmhouse. So this was one of those things that I did that I think would qualify still as sort of a farmhouse look. I'm just sanding off the edges because you can sand down this sticky paper too. See how well that comes off? I'm going to use some of this tint, and y'all, the tint that I have comes from PLAIDfabric.com. I got a gray one and then one that I think it's walnut, and I'm very pleased with them. They dry fast and they're not oily, so they're not like the antiquing wax texture. They're like a paint texture. Actually they're thinner and they dry so fast. All right, now I got to put the frame back on, or the roof back on. Just trying to make sure that it matches up, and if it doesn't, I'll sand it down or cut it at the right angle so that it fits. This is one of those things pretty common at Dollar Tree too. The pieces aren't necessarily square, so watch out for that. And then some hot glue will put this back in place. Hot glue for me is just the quickest way to do it. Gorilla Hot Glue is very helpful because it holds things in place for a long time, and that is helpful to me. It also the hot glue clings really quickly so that we can get a nice finished project done. I can get the video edited and get it out to y'all. These poppets, love these. This one page that I have had, and I got it at the thrift store, but you know, you can get those pretty much anywhere. Those elevated foam adhesive things. They are so great to give dimension in projects. They make things just pop up without you having to add a bunch of paint or shading to them. It gives it more of a 3D look. And that's just a look that I really like, and I always have enjoyed that look. But you could certainly put things on flat. Now, the fact that this is rather concave in places on the back, you don't have a lot of surface to put your glue and get a good catch on your project. But this works pretty good. And even though he's metal, this works fine, and this project is still together in one piece. It's not apart at all. He's still looking good and going strong. See, he has pride in his country. He's holding his little heart down there. And he's decorating his house now, so we got to give him some decor for the outside of his house. He's going to put his heart wreath up on the door when he's finished. And it looks like I'm cutting these down into 2-inch squares. And then I'll be cutting these into triangle pieces. Oh yes, I remember this. I remember this. You can do this anytime if you want to make a little banner, like a mini banner for your tier tray. These work so well. And you can save scraps of ribbon also. Once you get those cut and the first triangle, go ahead and cut them again to make 4 triangles out of 1 2-inch piece of ribbon. Not bad. That's really saving money. Then further cut it down into more pieces. It depends on the scale of your project, really. So where do we want to hang this? We could do it side to side. We could do it a little slanted. You know, I don't like to do things predictably, so we're going to do it at a slant. It's hot outside in July, so maybe he went in for a glass of iced tea and the sign started to fall. Who knows? Maybe he did not use the right adhesive. Who knows? So I'm going to just use a very thin line of glue on the back to attach this down to the string. And I'm putting it kind of straight up to the string so that it appears as though it's hanging off of it rather than floating above or below it. Just kind of, I take a little dot and kind of smear it down, and that thins it out so the glue isn't so bulky and it doesn't squish out when you put it down on the project. All of these little things, you know, taking these all one at a time, they do make a difference in your projects. They do make a difference in the results that you have and whether or not it looks high-end. So there's his little banner, pennant, flag, hanging, whatever, on his house, and it is pretty and it is patriotic just the way he likes it. And by all means, if you do not live in the United States and you have a holiday to celebrate your country, use your colors. Use your, you know, if your stores have some type of a thing that's just very personal or very belonging to your country, that your country is known for, why you really love your country, then use those. You know, I told you about my rusticness. He's got to have some trees in his yard. And you know, he's a gnome, so if he's a garden gnome, he actually knows how to plant trees and bushes, right? So I think he's going to plant these little fir trees or pine or whatever this is right outside his house for a little landscaping. But you don't have to use that there. You could also draw windows, paint windows, use some squares and put windows behind your little guy there. You could offset him, you know, and have him standing in front of the door. Whatever way you like it. He lives in the woods, y'all. He's a garden gnome. My garden is right next to the woods by my house. So it just butts right up to the, and let me tell you, the deer love it. They love it. We can't plant out there anymore. We used to, but we can't do it anymore because all we're doing is fattening the deer. I guess that's not a bad thing. Everybody's got to eat, right? Okay, so now we're going to do some USA wood blocks. When I did this video before, I had somebody comment that the the end result that I should have used a capital U, S, and A. And yeah, and I would have if I would have had a capital U, S, and A sticker. But the stickers that I had are the chipwood little ones you'll see that I use. They were only in the lowercase form. So I used what I had, because that's what I always encourage people to do. Use what you have. Alright, so once those are dry, I'm going to cut down some more of this gorgeous ribbon to put in the center of each of these blocks, just like this. Each one, and they're each a different size, but they're stepped down just a little bit. You don't have to do yours that way. You can use, and see, the wood that I'm using is just scraps of wood that my husband, he had worked on something, I think maybe the porch or something, and he had leftover wood, and that's where I got that from. That's just some leftover plain old lumber. And that's the size of the pieces, so I lucked up when I was digging through that pile. I also have a bunch of triangles from when he worked on some steps outside going off of our porch, so I'll be working with those sometime this year. I'm looking forward to that. I'm trying to get creative. What would you do with a bunch of triangle wood blocks? Now, they're not triangles like you see your pine trees. Like for Christmas, they're not that type of a triangle. They are not equal sides, in other words. So I'm thinking I might do like a teepee, like a camping type thing, or I might make it some type of a abstract or retro looking Christmas thing. I'm not sure, but I'll figure it out when we will be using those before the year is over. Alright, so I've stuck this down with Mod Podge, and I'm sealing off each of my edges with the Mod Podge. These are the letters, and y'all, they only came in the little lowercase, so that's what I used here. I used USA, and I love that it had the silver on the outside. It just looks sparkly and, you know, celebratory. So rather than leaving these loose, we're going to do something to put them together, okay? But let's put these letters down first. I want the letters to be sort of even when you look at them, to be like a straight line, but I don't necessarily have to have them centered in the middle of each of those rectangular pieces that they're on, because then it would not be even. And I don't mind the look of it. I think it looks nice that way. See, there's no disrespect in my USA. That's just what I had, so that's what I used. And it looks a little bit different, but we all know when you see the letters USA together, you know. You know. Alright, so I want them to stay together. I can take some jute and tie around them. So I just took some red and some regular brown jute, make a little bow. You can leave this part off, but, you know, I just felt like I needed a little something extra. Or to make a t-shirt that says that, little something extra, because I feel like I am a little something extra sometimes. If y'all are still watching this video and watching me craft and listening to me chatter, I really appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. It really does. And that my channel is liked for more than just the creations that I make, but that people seem to like my personality. They seem to like my Reba and Dolly voice. I get that a lot, and I do not mind that. That's a compliment. Now, if I made the kind of money they made, that would be something. I don't need to be famous, though. So, popsicle sticks work really great when you were securing things together on the backside, signs, and all sorts of things. So I thought they would work here, and they did. So now this is a different way that you can do some type of an embellishment on it. I just decided that bow just got in the way, right? Too big, got in the way, hung in the way of the sign. It was too much. So you can do something different. And if you don't glue it down when you first put it on there, you're just testing it out, then it's easy to take things apart. But how cute is this little bow? And there's just enough thickness that you can pull those little different strands apart and make them so pretty. You could also do this with baker's twine. The red and white baker's twine would be very pretty. And I think Dollar Tree is making more colors of that twine also. I have seen yellow and white, black and white, blue and white, red and white. Yeah, I think those are the only colors that I've seen. Also, if you're watching this and you're disturbed by the back of my project not being done, that is not a concern of mine because these projects are not sold. They are things that I keep in my house and that I see. So, you know, they're fine the way they are. But if you sell projects, be sure you paint or cover the back of your items. That really makes a difference. Here are the items I've done. And I also made the riser that those are sitting on. I also made above there's a wreath, and I will show you how to make that wreath as well. And these are the projects that I made. I like that backdrop too. But you know, again, like I said, that was when I was like totally into the farmhouse thing. Where it says I believe you, it's because I believe in you. I really do. And I know that you can do the things that I do. We all can, right? Just find the items and just give it a try. Don't be scared to start. You got to start somewhere. Okay, this one I think I did in 2021 or 2020. So I'm using a pizza pan. I'm going to clean it with some rubbing alcohol. I'm going to use a calendar page from Dollar Tree. You're probably not going to find this calendar page if it's from an outdated calendar, right? So don't worry about that. You're not going to find it. Don't have to worry about it. All right, so I'm going to use this wreath to help me trace out how big I need this to be. That's why I laid the wreath in the middle of that pan. I wanted to get an idea of how big I needed my circle to be, so it would fit nicely and so that it would look good in the middle of that pizza pan. Have y'all ever made a pizza pan sign? You can get those from Dollar Tree, and if you pick up a calendar from Dollar Tree, then you save even more money, right? So this is before I had my fine detail scissors. This is before I got my good Arteza scissors, and yeah, good scissors make a difference, y'all. I used some white paint, spray paint for the back, for the front, all around the edges. I didn't want to put it in the middle because why waste it? We're going to put down our sign, so I didn't bother putting anything underneath it. I am going to use my good old glue stick. I love these glue sticks. It is getting close to the end of the school year, so I'm going to remind you, like I have in other videos, if you have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, kids, whatever, that have projects or products from school, like they're, when they get the school list at the beginning of the year, they almost always, my children, have excess. The teachers send it back home. So they send it back home and you can use it. Don't throw that stuff away. Don't have the kids throw it in the trash. Go through that stuff and get those glue sticks out. They might have some decent scissors that you can use, Now I scratched a little bit, so I'm going over it with a metallic white marker. And if you saw me poking it with a pen, I had a couple of little air bubbles that were trapped in there, so I just popped those in and got the air out. I've got some thrifted ribbon. And some trim. This is stretchy trim too. It's stretchy. And I have some now that is red and white too. I really like it. So there's a ruler at the bottom of the table. That's what I used to use for measuring. It made it so easy. Looks like I'm getting about 2 feet of that. And then I'll go with my next ribbon. Y'all can find ribbons. If you don't have a good thrift store, I understand. I hear that a lot from people. You can get ribbon at Dollar Tree now. Lots and lots of ribbon. It might not be, see, different Dollar Trees put their items in different places. So it may be with the crafts section, it may be with Crafter Square, it might not. It may be down where the stickers are. It could be where the yarn is. There's more than one section in Dollar Tree that has things you can craft with. So just check the whole store out so you can get acquainted with where they keep the goodies. Where are the goodies? So I've decided with this little ribbon in the back, it's stretchy and I really can't use it alone for my purpose. So I'm going to layer it so that this polka dot ribbon looks as though it has a ruffled edge. You can do this with so many different types of ribbons, and I have done this a billion times. That big wreath I'm going to show you is my favorite wreath that I've ever made. And I used that on some, I think it was Dollar Tree ribbon. And we'll get to it though. We'll get to it. All right, so now I'm going to cut another 2 feet. and this is slightly wired. This one is. This is a very easy bow to make if you are a beginner crafter. You can see exactly what I'm doing. You just make an awareness loop, and then you squish it down on into the tails, and then it becomes 2 loops in the tails. We will do the same thing here for this one. And I like to use clips to hold my things together. Clips, game changer. Really love these. I use them almost every single project that I do, especially things that have ribbon, right? Definitely. So I want to make it a little bigger. I'm going to add a little more of that red and white, and then I'm using just pipe cleaners to twist it together, and I'm going to dovetail my ends. If there's one thing that I can say to you, if nothing else, that I want you to consider when you are doing your high-end individual made-at-your-own pieces, pay attention to your ribbons on your bows. Fluff bows, they need it. If it requires wired ribbon, use wired ribbon. It holds its form better. Dovetail those ends, cut them at a slant, make it look finished, because those are things that companies do that sell these projects that are high-end. Well, I keep saying projects and products interchangeably, and that is not correct. Yeah, the things that they sell, they're high-end looking, right? So if you want to achieve that same high-end look, then you need to do some of the things that they are doing. Take notice of those types of things. So I'm going to take my snub nose clippers here, or my bull nose clippers or cutters. Everybody asks about those. By the way, you can find something similar in my Amazon store, and that is linked if you're looking for something like that. I love them. So I am just going to take some flowers and some greenery and just put my bow with it and decide, do I want it on the top or the bottom of this little pizza pan sign. I love that print, by the way. Land of the free because of the brave. This would be a very good opportunity to thank those in our country who have protected us and spared our rights, and who have made sacrifices so that we can live the lives that we live and that we can be safe. So the big thank you to everybody for that. We all do our part, right? And I like to be, I'm not military, my husband's not military, but we have military in our family, and we like to be respectful of that. They often don't tell us what they've been through, and those are personal things, you know? Just let them know that you appreciate them and the sacrifices they made. And if you have family that's had soldiers or has soldiers in them, then, you know, let them know that you appreciate them, because it's got to be hard for families. You know, it's got to be hard. Okay, so I am just going to embellish that little bow with the greenery. And I put that little piece of scrap foam down on there because that scrap, although it could be trash bound, you know, ready for garbage, when you put it there, it makes it so much easier for you to attach things down to a pizza pie pan sign, because those signs are metal, and a lot of times glue just pops right off of metal. So you could always use some type of super glue, but you would have to wait a long time for it to dry in between layers when you use as many layers as I tend to use on my projects. So these are just little tail pieces because I wanted to bulk up that bow. So I'm just cutting a few inches, probably 4 inches there, and I'm cutting them in a dovetail. And then I'm going to just squish those together, fold them over, squish them together. You can use a little tie to tie them together. That's how I used to do them, okay? That's what I used to do. Now what I do is just glue the little section in the middle, because you have to flip them. If they're patterned on one side and not on the other, you kind of have to flip them. It's the way that you fold them. But once you get that fold down, they make such a difference in your projects, because it really beefs up kind of a wimpy looking bow and really makes them wider and take more space up. So the bottom section looks like it is done. It looks like we are moving on to a hanger for it. right? So you don't have to use ribbon, but I wanted this to show, and I thought it was, you know, kind of festive and cute. But you don't have to use it. Now you're going to use Gorilla Glue. It's got the best chance of sticking to your projects that are metal or glass. It's going to be the Gorilla Glue. Now all I'm doing is just trimming. If you don't want to do that type of a bow, you can do a different type of hanger, and this one has beads on it, right? This is going to be beaded. I forgot that I had actually done two different things on here. I'll do that in videos. Sometimes I'll do something and change it. Sometimes I'll edit it out just for time's sake, but every now and then I'll leave things in because I want you to see what your options can be if you have different ideas, you know, if you're not really sure what you want to do. You can use a little hot glue when you are beading, stringing beads, or pushing your, you know, maybe you have a sign that's got holes in it and you want to put a different type of jute or cord through it, then be sure that you can either wrap it with a piece of tape if you wanted to, or you could get a little glue, put that glue on there and twist it into a point. Let it cool and you are ready to go. You almost have like a needle-like end for it. It makes it so much easier to do. Yeah, and see, I skipped my pattern in there, but I fixed it, no problem. So then all you have to do is just glue it on. Same thing as we did before. You always have options. Do you see the beads messed up right there? I had to take this apart and fix it. I don't even think I realized it until I had it hung up for the final reveal. I think that's when I noticed it. Isn't that crazy? No, it looks like I fixed it. Yeah, okay, I caught it in time. Good. That kind of stuff drives me nuts. If I would have put that up, I'd have went crazy. It would have been haunting me. Okay, so I've got some cheese graters, and they already had foam in them, and I thrifted them. So now I've got some greenery over here, and some beautiful flowers. I'm not sure what this is called. And some little segments of ribbon, some ribbon that I thrifted, some little fragments of ribbon from Dollar Tree. Just a variety. Just a big variety. So I put little hangers on the back with a little bit of hot glue, a little twist, like a bag twist. It's kind of what it looks like. And I have used this before. So I want to show you, and I am actually the one who put you can see the old glue on the other one over there. I didn't even get it off. That's not very professional, is it? But I knew I was going to cover it, so it's okay. This was back in the early days. So I had to shove some foam in there. You can see the foam where I had used it before. But there's a gap, and I want to fill that gap and not see the foam. So I'm going to use, is it Excelsior? Is that what it's called? Excelsior grass? I'm just going to use this down in there. You can use, Dollar Tree has bags of that brown filler stuff that you can use with gift wrapping. It works good for these projects too because it just looks kind of organic and like you might find it on the ground, you know, like crumpled leaves or something. So I am just using these pieces of greenery, and I got those pieces right there of greenery came from Target on a 90% clearance. That's where they came from, I think. I've got some eucalyptus picks I'm going to put in here. You can see the pattern that I'm using to make these. It's really easy. I'm just going to the corners here. I decided that I wanted to use the side with the bigger holes as the front. And I ended up using these in my kitchen for the 4th of July celebration that we had that year, and I really liked them. They were really pretty. We have some recessed windows, and I put them underneath there, kind of one above the other one, and it was a really pretty look. Not using any hot glue in these makes it easy for you to take this apart. So if this is something you wanted to keep in your house all year long, you know, in your kitchen all year long, you could do that. You could use it all year long. Just pop out that greenery and add different arrangements for the different seasons or holidays. I wanted to cover up, you could still see a little of that green that is underneath there. And I wanted to kind of cover that up. I didn't want all that green showing. So I'm testing out my ribbons here to see what kind of ribbon I want to put and how thick I want, you know, a little accent piece to be. And the red one takes up a lot of space. This one's a little bit less, but I think it's really pretty. I think this is like one of those ribbons that probably came from Dollar Tree. I think Stanley, is it Stanley, the last name? So when I am putting on ribbons and embellishments like this, I always like to leave the place where they are secured together on the back side. I don't like the seams in the front. I don't like to see the seams. I want it to look finished and neat. So I'm just wrapping this around there. I kind of tucked under the edge so that it'll have a nice little clean finish, and then I'll just glue that down so that it stays where it needs to be. Now I glued the top edge first because you can see that this gets more narrow as it goes down, and in order to get it to fit flush, you have to glue the sections a little bit separately. Kind of pull up slightly in the back so that it will fit around the edge. I hope that made sense, what I was saying. Yeah, that's why I do it like that. So you can add a bow, and I have this red and white ribbon that's really narrow that I can use right in the middle of the thicker red and white. See how the wire just lets you give that dimension? It holds that shape when you fluff it. I really like that about wired ribbon. And it's the best way to make, in my opinion, if you're doing wreaths and stuff like that, is to use something with the wire in it. And it doesn't take something that has really strong wire in it at all. Just a little bit of wire to hold it. Y'all see, that was even back in the day when I had my little subscribe button down there. And I put it in the video like, I don't know, every 10 or 15 minutes, because at that time my channel was small, but it was growing, and I really wanted people to see my work, you know, and I really wanted to help people, and I really wanted the channel to grow. So hopefully that's not annoying to you. That's just part of the original video. That's all that is. But by all means, if you would like to subscribe, I would love to have you. Here in the comment sections, we talk a lot. You know, we chat. I read all of my comments. I can't, now that I'm at 44.4 thousand subscribers, I can't address every comment on a daily basis, but I try within a few days to get back to everybody's comments, because I do read them myself. I run my own business, and my husband helps me a little bit with the financial aspects of it, but I do everything else myself. So, and that's important to me. I don't, you know, if you take your time to come to my channel and watch my crafts and listen to me chat it up, then I'm going to take the time for sure, at least to comment back to you, because you took the time for me, and I'm going to take that time for you. It's like somebody saying hi to you and you don't say hello back. That's just rude, right? That's rude. So I at least want to give you a thumbs up and a heart to let you know that I did read it. I don't just go through there doing it either. I read it first, then I respond. So these are so cute, y'all. Look, they're perfect little towel hangers. And you can use your red and white towels. You can use your special towels that have decor on there for the 4th of July. Love it. So now this one is going to be a gnome planter. So you see that little gnome right there? Same as the other gnome. Got these little black eye Susans. Love black eye Susans. We see these where I live all the time. I've got a little foam here. I'm going to use, this is a little bag that is sort of fabric and paper, but just use a sandwich bag or one of those lunch bags. That's what they are. And I got some more of this ribbon. There's my gnome, little Dollar Tree gnome. You can just pop it off of there. That's not hard to do. Like, not even in the camera shot. That's crazy. That's craziness, y'all. Craziness. One of the most beautiful clings I have ever seen at Dollar Tree. So crisp, no glitter. You heard me right, no glitter. Okay, so I'm going to put some little rocks in these little rocks. My son or daughter painted one of the rocks, and the other one was painted by my aunt, who passed away in the 1990s, I think. We had a very special day. The day I went to her house, she was sick. She had been diagnosed with cancer. We were sitting outside on her patio, and my babies were playing in the gravel and found some rocks and wanted to draw on the rocks. They were playing with the rocks. My aunt went and got some markers, and we all decorated rocks, and I kept the rock that she decorated. And so now I have it long after she's gone. And don't worry, that rock is no longer in that bundle. I've taken it out. I have it, and I plan to keep it for a long time because it makes me smile when I see it. It reminds me of her and how hard she fought with her cancer. So if that's your journey right now, and you know, maybe you're at home and you can't craft right now, you don't have the energy, you don't feel good, my prayers go out to you, along with some, you know, some healing vibes, some positive thoughts. Please try to keep positive. I know that is very difficult to do, but it makes a difference in the healing process. It makes a difference. It really does. You know, that is my opinion, of course, but prayer and a positive opinion do matter. Okay, so I'm just arranging these down here with the beautiful little fern pieces that I thrifted. And I think that these are such a simple look, but really pretty. And definitely you can find these pieces together in nature because I find them on the sides of the road all the time. Just like this. I knew that I wanted this to be something that I could put on my porch to make it pretty whenever our guests came. But I wanted it to look not just like summer. Of course, you could leave it just like this all the time, right? We could leave it like this all the time and then change out just the little pick that goes in it. You could certainly do that. These are some more little thrifted pieces that I found, and it's just like little flyaways. I thought that this would add a little extra something to it, and I really like the look of it. It's woodsy and just rustic. It's good enough to me. It means enough to me, I'll put it that way, because I really enjoy it, that I've kept it all these years, and it is down in my crafting space, and I still love it and adore it when I see it. So I pulled the back off that stake, and I'm just going to replace it with a little wooden pick, because I don't need that whole entire long piece. I need it to be shorter so that it is in proportion to what we're doing here. And then use a little scrap ribbon to go right over that, slip it down in there, and hold that little wooden piece right in place. And then if he has scratches, if you buy things sometimes at Dollar Tree, they're not necessarily completely perfect when you get them, but you can fix them. I'm just using a black furniture repair marker to go over his boots in those spots that he had been scratched. Because it's metal, right? And it's in there with other metal pieces all squished up, and sometimes they'll scratch against each other and cause a little damage, but we can fix that. I like this red polka dot ribbon too. I think I picked up some orange not long ago, orange polka dot. I hope I did, because I'm thinking that would be really pretty this fall in fall decor. And of course, part of fall is Halloween, right? I cannot wait to get back into my fall and Halloween crafting. And every time I get my 4th of July creations out and I start working on 4th of July, I know that right after 4th of July, we're jumping straight into fall. That's how I do it here. I like to be able to get these out to y'all in time that if you are somebody who likes to sell projects, or maybe you like to do handmade gifts for Christmas, well, you need to get an early start to do all that, right? You want to have it completely ready before it is needed. So, this is the way you can do it. Now, I just made some little pieces on here and twisted them around these little sticks. I'm going to use these to go in the arrangement. So just like you use these on wreaths or other types of decoration that you do, you can use these pieces sticking out of your floral arrangements. So all I had to do after the 4th of July was over, or whenever you're done with your patriotic holidays, whichever, holiday you want to use it for, because you can do Memorial Day or any day, Veterans Day. You can just remove the little gnome pick and remove these little picks, and then you still have a perfect little summertime arrangement. And really, with it being a cream colored, it could really go into fall. So I'm going to make a little mini sign to put in here. I'm going to use a window cling to do it. I have a little scrap of wood, just a scrap, it's just a little something, and I picked these up at the thrift store too, just little random things. I want to add a little bit of white to this, so I'm just going to take this little brush and kind of take some of the paint off and do a sort of a dry brush on here. I know I'm out of the camera angle, y'all, but I got a different tripod this year. I think it really made a difference in the production of my video quality. I hope it did, because I really want this to be where you can see and understand what I'm doing. So I'm being sure to go around the edges really, really well, and then I'm just putting enough on there where it looks kind of older, right? So now I'm going to use some of this craft bond glue. I'm going to try to use this and put it down on here. You can use the glue sticks for this, and that's what I use now. It's just those purple glue sticks when I have them. I used to use Jot from Dollar Tree, but let me tell you, I don't know what happened, if somebody else makes it or if the ingredients changed, but it's real lumpy now when I get it. And it won't be smooth, and I need it to be smooth so that it disappears and it doesn't cause any disturbance in the way that my items cling together, right? And I don't know, maybe I got a bad batch, but it's not to say that I'll never use them, because I have them in my stash, so, maybe they have a lifespan, an expiration. I'll have to check on that. Let me know if you know. So since we're going to make the little pick for this sign, or for this arrangement, I'm just adding some glue and white paper on the back, and then I'm just going to try to disguise it a little bit, color it in a little bit with a repair marker, a furniture repair marker, so that it blends in a little bit better. In case you were to see the back of it, you don't want it to be, you don't want it to be sloppy looking. So once that is dried on there, I'm going to take some Mod Podge and go all over the top. Did you know that Mod Podge makes a bunch of different formulations? They make matte Mod Podge, the regular Mod Podge, they make outdoor Mod Podge, dishwasher Mod Podge, oh boy, there's so many of them. I have like 4 or 5 different kinds. I can't even remember the names of all of them, but they really make a little something for everybody. And then you can also get it in a spray, which is great too. It's like an aerosol spray. Yep. So here is my porch, and there's my goodies. And this also was what my little advertisement used to look like. Yep, we've come a long way, baby. And I just have it sitting on the corner of one of my pots here so that you can see it. Okay, so we're going to go on to another project. We're going to make a USA sign. I'm just using a variety of gorgeous ribbons. And we're going to go back to those clings that we used from Dollar Tree before. We have this little piece. This looks like somebody did their own little DIY with it from Dollar Tree. And we're going to use it again. So if you can't get it off and it's real flush, just use something really narrow to go underneath, and usually they will just pop up, but just kind of take your time so you don't break it. I have broken a few, so just keep that in mind. They can break. And then you can peel off what's under there, sand it off, flip it over, use the back, whatever you want to do. So because this has little glue pieces on it and paper that is sticking out, I'm going to sand it off. I don't want that under there. I don't want it to look sloppy. So I am going to take all of that off. I chipped it a little bit on the corner. Just going to smear a little hot glue in there, poke it back down. It dries fine. I'm going to trace out some white paper. Now, we could always just use white paint, right? But what if you don't have white paint? Grab some glue. This is just some spray glue. and then put you down some construction paper on top, or some cardboard, or some poster board that you cut down to the right size. And look how fast that is. You don't even have to wait for anything to dry. You can keep going. That's my wood ruler. Before I had my brayers and my little tools for my Cricut, which I didn't have back then. I needed something to flatten things out, and the wooden ruler worked perfect because it didn't scratch anything and it would reach far. You know, it would really press everything out. So there's that purple glue stick we talked about. I'm going to put it all over the back of this window cling. And you want to be sure that you go all the way out to your edges. Most of these clings are clear on the edge or have a different design or color on the edge. Be sure that you get all the way past the edge. And that, don't worry about the purple because it will disappear. You just press that down, press that out gently so that it doesn't slide, because sometimes if you go overboard with the glue, it'll slide. I wanted to incorporate these beautiful little stars. They look like tin or like a metal star. I wanted to put these on here too, so we'll do the same thing here. A little bit of the glue stick on the back and then put it into place. You don't have to use, if you use paper, you do need to use glue, but if you use glass, a glass jar or something, you can just wrap it around there if it's flat, and you don't even have to glue it. You can take it off and use it again. Really stretch that dollar, y'all. I'm really stressing that you save money wherever you can. Right around where the edges are kind of scratched or a different color, I can repair that with a furniture repair marker. You can get these in packs of 3 at Dollar Tree. There are 2 different color selections, and I have both. And I use them for a lot of things. A lot of things. You'll see in my projects, a lot of things. I'm going to just put this border right on back down on here to give it some edging. This is also a time where I had an old table that I was using for crafting. That table has a piece of foam board with wallpaper wrapped around it. That's what you're looking at, that top piece. I had to do that because the card table that I use had a hole right in the center section where it folds. It's one of those like rectangular white ones. It's got like a hard plastic on top, and it had a crack and broke, and there was a hole, and every time I would do anything, it would dip. I would dip down into that hole. It was ridiculous. So I just repaired that by just making a little removable tabletop that I could put on top of my space so that it looked pretty and neat and was functional. So there's an idea for you if you are working on something. Maybe it's not a very pretty table, or a table like an outdoor table that's metal that has the little holes in it, like the iron ones. You can make a little fake tabletop while you're recording if that's what you want to do. If you make videos of your own, but if you don't, and you just want your space to be pretty, you can do the same thing. Just measure the top of your surface, get you some foam board, and wrap it with some wallpaper you love. Heck, you could even use some of that really pretty paper that you get. I think it's like shelf liner or something that you get at the Dollar Tree. Just an idea. Or the little wallpaper pieces like we used in a previous project. You could do that too. That would be really nice. Okay. So I trimmed it out with a little bit of rope. I think that gave it a little bit more of a rustic look. And I do live next to a lake. And, you know, so we kind of have that little nautical thing would be appropriate, I think, for where I live. That gives it a little bit of that. And then I'm just going to start thinking about a bow that I want to put on here. This blue polka dot ribbon is so pretty. I don't think I have any more of this left. I'm not the crafter who goes through a season and then donates everything they don't use. I save a lot of things, and I put them in boxes with the appropriate labels, like 4th of July or summer or fall, Halloween, Valentine's Day, Christmas. You know, I put them in boxes like that, and If it's something that I just decided, maybe I tried the ribbon and I just didn't like the weight of the ribbon, or it frayed a lot or whatever, those are the things that I'll just redonate. I'll just throw them in a bag to redonate, and every time it's in between seasons and I'm changing out my items that are in the room, I get out the new stuff that's coming up, start working on, and I put the other seasons or holidays away so that it is not in my way and I can focus on what it is that I am doing. You might consider that, you know, especially if it's a matter of your room is so full and so junky that you don't know what to do because you can't even see the top of your table. Consider finding some type of organization that works for you. Pinterest has tons and tons of ideas that surely something would fit your style of organizing, and even some extremely budget-friendly ideas like using boxes and cover them in wallpaper, like diaper boxes and things like that. Those are really great ways to save your money. You can find channels also on YouTube that tell you all about craft room organization. Great tips. You know, just use the ones that fit for you and just, you know, ignore the rest of it, right? So I've got this little fat squatty bow. It's got more loop than tail, and I don't mind that at all. I think it looks cute on this. This is certainly not something you would have to put a bow on, but you know, I live in the South and we like our bows for the most part. So I'm using another clamp up there. That one is a laundry clamp, I think. It came in like the laundry section, in other words, of Dollar Tree. And I'm just holding that down right there so I can continue to work. Otherwise, I would have to hold that in place because the thickness of that bow would cause it to spring back off the board. It would push back off the board. Or I'd have to flatten my bow, and I don't want to do that. Who wants a flat bow? This is something that I enjoy doing also, using a pencil and using those berry vines and kind of twisting them so they're, you know, twisted instead of just straight. It reminded me in this project of like the firecrackers that you shoot in the air and they kind of twist and spin around before they explode. Those things are so fun to watch. They're so fun. And that's what this kind of reminded me of. So I felt like this kind of looked like fireworks. I like the look of it. I'm going to add a little something down in the bottom. Again, this is optional. You don't have to embellish the entire thing, but if you want to, you can. You could always stop at any point with the crafts that I create. You can stop at any point that you feel is enough for you. You do not have to do anything that you see me do on this channel just the way that I do it. Not at all. This ribbon actually has, I think it has wire in it, so I like cut off the wire edges and I want to fray it just a little bit. So I am pulling out 1 or 2 threads at a time to fray it down a little bit. Then I'm just going to take these two. This almost looks like a little bow tie, doesn't it? Twist that around with some wire. I think that's some of that curly wire burlap, I think. And then I'll cover that up in the middle with this little rustic looking piece of polka dot red ribbon. And then you can just trim off that and you can use that in the corner. If you don't like a big bow like the ones on top, you could use that bow right there on the top and not do anything in the bottom corner. You could use any type of hanger you want to use. You could put some type of a backing on it. You could put some blocks on the back of it so that it will stand rather than hanging. But this is a little hanger that is pretty much my go-to when I am crafting and making signs. Some of them I make longer than other ones. It just depends if I want the hanger to show or if I want the hanger to be hidden behind the project. But I found this one works well, so I use it a lot. I'm just going to tape that in place. It has a little bit of hot glue in there too. I don't think you saw that part, to make sure nothing falls. But you have to make sure when you use that type of a hanger that the weight is equal, or when you hang it, it will lean toward the heavier side. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Otherwise, you need to use a string that goes from the top corner right to the top corner left, and then you can adjust where you hang it so that it doesn't flop around. Hopefully they'll have some good window clings out for y'all this year if you're interested in using those for your projects. So we're going to do another sign. These are scraps of fabric that I thrifted. This is a Dollar Tree hanging sign. It's just the USA letters. Yep. This is the back of a puzzle. I'm telling you, you got to think outside the box. And then we have a sign here. It's a tag sign from Dollar Tree. Has been used before. It's got glitter on it. You can use sandpaper to help get rid of the glitter. You can also use some type of a scraper if you want to get some of that off. Because even though it's not on the side that we're necessarily going to be using it on, I don't want any paint smearing around in that glitter. I don't want to get any of my white paint with little dots of glitter in it, because I have a tendency to dip right back into the paint bottle, and I do not want that to happen. So I know I do not want this glitter on here, but did you know that you can get under the edge of these and pull these pieces off? You sure can. Now obviously I'm not going to flip this over and use the back. I guess on some projects you could, but for me I'm not going to do that for this one. I am going to just peel it off, sand it up a little bit, and then I will be painting right on top of this. This is so satisfying when it peels off in big sections like that. Oh, I love it. So easy to deal with when it does that, but that is not always the case. Y'all, the frog is back outside my window. I hear him. I hear him out there. Okay, so I am just going to sand off this little rough part. I know some people like to go all the way down underneath to that MDF on the bottom. You can go all the way underneath. If you can peel that off all the way, go ahead and do that if that's what you want to do, because this does leave like a papery top part, I guess. It leaves a little bit of texture unless you really sand it down a lot. But you can leave it on there, it won't matter. I am going to use some spray paint on there, and I'm also going to use some spray paint on this one. I love that navy blue. It's so pretty. We are going to be using that to cover this piece, apparently. You can always, if you have like your board backing and stuff like that, if it's going to be underneath fabric that has any white in it, I like to paint the surface underneath white. Why do I do that? Because you can see through most fabrics, and when you see through the fabric, if you have white underneath, it just makes your white look crisp and it makes it pop. If you were to leave a wooden finish underneath, or a brown, say you used another Dollar Tree sign and you use the back, if you do that, that is going to have a darker appearance to your white, so it'll look a little muddier. It won't be as bright, and I like my white to be very crisp. That is why I do it this way. But if that doesn't matter to you, you certainly don't have to do that. You also don't have to trim it down like I just did, but I like to do that. Okay, so I've got my white tag underneath, and I'm going to put that board on top. My pattern's a little messed up. I've learned since then how to make sure that your pattern is straight, but back then I didn't know what to do. You know, you work with what you have until you learn better. Then I'm going to take some of this burlap, and y'all, this ribbon I have had since I lived in another state. I think I've had this for probably 8-10 years, and I'm finally using it. I know. I got it on a very steep clearance at Walmart one year. I think I paid $1 a piece for the rolls, and I got like 6 rolls probably. So I'm just going to pull out the little strands here, and that gives me a nice clean line, and then I can cut on that. And I'm just kind of fraying off my edges a little bit. You know, the weave is loose in burlap, so you can kind of manipulate it a little bit, just like you see me doing, so that it is straight and not kind of wonky or to the side. Once this was painted, it left um, a little bit to be desired. So I wanted to go back over and roughen it up a little bit, and all I'm doing is taking my sanding block here and going over the edge and kind of going down and outward like I would when I am going around a finished project that has a little bit of paper hanging off the edge and you want to get that nice and clean. Same process. It's kind of at like a 45-degree angle. I mean, not exact, but if I had to guess, it would be about that, downward and outward, and that seems to do it. Now, had I known about the emery board trick back then, I would have used an emery board here, but I didn't, so I just folded some sandpaper and just put that in there to get into those little hidden areas and the little cracks and crevices around it. You can do whatever works best for you. So now that I have all of these ready, I can place these down how I want them on the sign. And I think that is a really nice look. Now this is one of those to me that just is really farmhouse looking. Very, very farmhouse looking. What I'm doing here is just cutting off some foam board to make little risers, I guess, to kind of hold it up a little bit above the U and the A. I want this to be elevated just a little bit. You can use those little adhesive foam dots or blocks that you can get at Dollar Tree that would do the same thing. And then I'll start gluing these letters down. By the way, I did the U and the A also the same way that I did the S. It's kind of sanded around all the edges. If you don't like them being all white, you could use something different. You could paint them. You could Mod Podge something over them. You could use tissue paper on them. And now I'm just going to put these down. Okay, y'all, if you're still watching, if you're still with me, leave me a flag. It doesn't matter to me what flag it is. It can be your own personal country flag. It could be my flag. Now, these little things I bought at Dirt Cheap, they are made to be used on the spokes of bicycles. They were selling a bunch of items that you could use to decorate bicycles for 4th of July. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? But I've cut the back off of them so they will be flat. And you can use buttons for this. You could use stickers for this. I like to use things that have a little dimension. I like to mix up the media that I use. So some things are going to be paper, some are going to be fabric, some are plastic. You know, gives it some texture, and I like that. I like the idea of these being lined up. Y'all got to excuse me. I've been talking for an hour and 17 minutes and I am getting a little bit parched here. So to further embellish it, I'm just going to add some extra stars on the letters. And I've got the blue on the U and the A, and then just the red in the middle. Just kind of mix it up. You can see how that looks. Now I'm going to put some globs of glue in there so that I can stick these two together. Trying to make sure that it's centered on the tag sign that's underneath it. And I'm going to use clamps to hold it in place. Now these are just the regular kind of stationary clamps that you use, you know, like in an office or whatever. Use what you got. And they certainly work on these flatter projects, let me tell you. So the next part, we're going to make a tassel. I'm going to cut those into little, all I'm doing is nicking the edge, and then I'm just pulling off the strips. You just nick the edge of the fabric, and I know I'm completely out of camera range, but take my word for it. See there? There we go. And the pattern is not going to be exact. It's going to be, you know, it's printed, so it's not a woven fabric. It's going to be what it is. It's not going to be a perfect pattern, but in a tassel, you're not even going to notice that. You really are not. So I took those pieces and cut those in half, and now I am bundling those all up in my hand. Just using some jute to go around the middle part of it. Gonna tie it nice and tight. Looks like I slowed the video down, doesn't it? And I'm going to tie in a few knots because I do not want this to come apart at all. You can trim it off. Then look at that little pretty thing. I'm just going to pull it all down now. Cut off a long length. I think I probably have a foot of jute down there that I have not used yet. And then I'm going to use another piece of jute and go around about an inch, maybe half inch to an inch down to make the little head part, or the top part of the tassel, I guess you could say. You can make tassels many different ways, so however you prefer to make your tassel, you can do it that way. And then I'm just going to wrap. And that'll make a little division there. I'm adding some hot glue to hold that little thing in place. And that's to keep from burning my fingers. How about that? It also is used to tuck right down in there so that you won't even see the edge. Now all you have to do is cut off your frayed edges, your little, well, I say frayed edges, but you know, the longer pieces, and then cut off any little strings that might be in there. Unless you like the look of that, then you can certainly leave it. You can cut them at slants, you can leave them as they are, whatever you like. Please don't think when you craft that because your project doesn't look like somebody else's that it's not good enough. Do not judge your creativity against anybody else's creativity, because we're not the same. You know, that's why you see so many different styles when you go in stores. You know, you see different styles, you see people gravitating toward different things. It's because we're all different. And it's about time we start celebrating our differences rather than arguing and fighting, right? Over who's right. Let's not do that anymore. Let's not do that. If we could just erase that from the world, can you imagine how much nicer of a place that would be? Now, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on the back of mine because I don't want it to be flopping all over the place. We want it to appear as though it's hanging, even though really it's glued on there too. This is another piece that I tore off, and we're going to use that as our edge. You see this sign I've used before in a different project. That's why it has doilies on the back. To finish this project, all you got to do is cut craft paper, which you can get at Dollar Tree, and then put right over the back. You can hot glue it or tape it down. You can actually use a short stapler if you wanted to do that, so that it is covered and nobody will see it. And this way you can hang it on maybe a glass door, or give it away, or sell it. Loved this project. I love the results of this project so very much. And you think of all the different ways you can use that, you know, that technique and use this sign. How can you use the inspiration you got from this? You see that clicking? That was something that was happening with an iPhone that I used before I actually got a camera. So thanks to all my subscribers, my new videos are on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Thanks to all my subscribers, as I was saying, I have been able to buy a new computer, software to edit my videos, the microphone that I use. My husband bought me the camera, the table. I mean, just all sorts of things. All the support that you give me keeps this channel going, and that means a lot to me. You know, here we are at almost an hour and 30 minutes, and you're still here with me watching this video. and I hope that you are finding inspiration in this video. Okay, so now we're working on my favorite wreath, and it's not a hard one to make. Please do not confuse difficulty with the time it takes to do something. When you watch my projects, there's a lot that goes into it, but that doesn't make it hard to do. And besides, we can do hard things. Can't we do hard things? We can. So, this I got at the thrift store, but it is a Dollar Tree piece. It's a Dollar Tree wreath. So once we go around the middle rung, this is only 3 rungs on this. Some of them have 4, but for this one, there's 3. So I'm going to go around the centers of each of those little crossbars, and then I'm going to go around the outer 2 rings in every little section with my pipe cleaners, because pipe cleaners make my wreath making so much better. I also like to try to match whatever pipe cleaner I'm using to the fabric, the material, the wreath, the whatever that I'm doing on a project. If I was doing mostly greenery, I would prefer to use a green, in other words. So we're going to have a lot of red, white, and blue in here, so we're going to be using the red. Plus, for video recording purposes and then showing you what I'm doing, if I use a vibrant color, it's a little bit easier for people to follow. So this is thrifted. This is a scrap. It is over 18 inches long, and I have no idea how many feet are on here. No clue, because it's just a segment. I was on a wing and a prayer with this one because I didn't know if I would have enough to go all the way around this wreath. But I went with it. You'll see. Stay tuned, because you'll see what we do when we run out. Alright, so I'm just going to start on one of the center sections. It really doesn't matter which one. I'm using about, I've kind of gathered it up in my hands, and I'm going to tuck it in between the bottom so it goes toward the back. Then we're going to start making little poofs. This is a wide section, so it takes a little bit more to get the poof in your hand, but you can do it. I think I might have used 10-inch sections. I'm not sure. I'll have to see when I get the ruler back up there, but I usually do 8, 9, 10 inches. That's usually a good one, you know, pretty much what I do for my poofs. Then I'm going to go to the outside, then I'll go back to the inside or the top, make another poof. We're just going to go back and forth like a zigzag. And then, see there, now I'm in the center again, and then I'll go back to the middle. This, I know some people tell me that that follow me on this channel, they tell me that they don't like deco mesh. I have mixed feelings about deco mesh. A good quality deco mesh like the one I'm using right now, this is a really good quality. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It doesn't have a lot of brightness. It doesn't have a lot of crazy tinsel running through it, except for the blue here. You see that I ran out. I had to switch over to this blue. So, and it is also a scrap, so I'm not sure how much it was. Not sure how much was on there. But I'm just going to go right underneath it, attach them together where it overlaps right there, and then do the same process all the way around. Yeah, I don't care for like really loud deco mesh, I'll put it that way. I feel like sometimes with deco mesh it can kind of I'm trying to be gentle how I say this, cheapen the look. And I'm definitely not saying everybody's deco mesh wreaths look cheap. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying in my experience, when I have used deco mesh wreath, sometimes when I look at it I go, no, I don't like that. And I'll use something like burlap ribbon or things like that to kind of get the look that I'm going for. But you can use those together, or you can use them interchangeably. If you can get a good one, like that red one, it doesn't have any glitter or anything in it. This blue one does. The blue one I don't love as much, but because I know I'm going to be putting other things that will soften that look over it, then I'm okay with it. So if that makes sense to you, just kind of consider that you can layer it in there, and it does give a little something extra to your wreath. But again, you know, you have to do what you like and find, If you work with a cheap quality and it's fraying and it is falling apart in your hands and you're not getting enough on the roll and that sort of thing, that's very frustrating, and I by no means want to have anything to do with that. None. But again, you do what makes you happy in your projects. I always want you to remember that. Now I'm just going to go back over this blue, crisscrossing it back over, because I want it to be covering up underneath a little bit better, and I want it to be a little fuller looking, because that red and white is really full. And I think that this blue is might have been a 10-inch roll, which can explain why it is not as thick looking as the red and white. So, you know, keep that in mind. If you feel like it's too thin and you can still see your wreath form underneath, then maybe double it up. Maybe put 2 rolls together and use it that way. I have certainly done it like that before. And then you can tuck under and wrap around like your edges. You know, you don't want that in the front, especially deco mesh. Sometimes with the burlap, when you make a wreath, you can cut off a section of it and it's still, you know, it adds to the wreath. It doesn't take anything away from it. But I certainly don't want to see raggedy edges of deco mesh. I'm sure you do not either. So I'm poofing this little cuteness out here. Gotta get all those poofs kind of opened up and spread apart. I'm leaving on those pipe cleaners because we're going to be attaching other things to it. So this is red, white, and blue, and you know, don't leave yet. Don't leave yet, because it does get better. I doubted it too when I was making this wreath, but I was like, there's got to be some redemption here. So I grabbed my burlap. Good old burlap that I got at Walmart on clearance, out of that same bunch that I used in the previous project, and I'm going to make little poofs with this. So, as far as the 4th of July and you personally, do you celebrate it? Do you do anything special? If you're not from the United States and you have a special day in your country that you celebrate your country, do you celebrate that? Do you participate in that? If you are in another country and not in the United States, what type of celebrations do you do to celebrate? I would love to know, for people who are outside of the country especially. I'm just curious, you know, what you do to show your patriotism to your country. I'd love to hear what you do. We always learn and benefit from learning, and I like to learn from other people's experiences, and I like to teach myself all the time. Keeps our brain strong and functional, doesn't it? Okay, so I just zigzagged that back and forth all over the entire wreath, and I'm going to tuck that down. And now you also want to fluff out that burlap. You can see that there's like a pattern that is forming here where we have the burlap on the outside, now the burlap's on the inside. You're going to pull those apart, outside, inside, all the way around the wreath. And it looks like it is just woven through there. This is also very important when you're making your wreaths, that you pull your sections apart, you fluff out your sections. And this is how it looks so far. I can work with that. Makes a pretty good base, don't you think? So now I've got to put some embellishments on it. I am trying to remember. I think that this ribbon has wire in it, but I'm not entirely sure. You can cut off your pieces and then dovetail the ends of them, or you can cut them at a slant. You can do 10-inch pieces or you can do 12-inch pieces, whatever you prefer. Look at this beautiful trim that I found at the thrift store. This is from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to show you how you can bulk it up. Now remember what we did on the other project with the blue checkered ribbon? Well, if you have a bow, or if you have some trim, in other words, that doesn't have any wire in it, or it is just plain trim, and it's not the right type of material that you can make a bow out of, or a bow that will hold some structure, you can overlay your pretty ribbon on top of some cheaper ribbon that does have wire. So this Dollar Tree ribbon is beautiful as it is, but I had many rolls of this that I have not used, and it would make a great backer for this beautiful trim that I definitely wanted to put in this wreath. I'm going to use 9 inches of this, clip, clip, and then I am going to dovetail it. We're going to use it just like we would a regular ribbon. Now it has all the body that it needs to stand on its own. Check that out. Look at that. Now it looks wired. Oh, love it. And we'll just continue along and do the same thing. Cut those pieces and dovetail them. Now we've got pieces ready to put our wreath together. This is my go-to wreath making ribbon stack technique. I do this all the time. I am not a professional wreath maker. I am not telling you that the way I do it is exactly the right way. I'm not doing that. There are plenty of people on YouTube who are, all they do is wreaths, and they do an amazing job. I just kind of go with my gut on things, and I do what looks pretty to me and what brings me joy. So that's why I kind of use this technique, because you find something that works, you want to use what works, right? So this works for me. And I feel like if you can get a hang of one style and you get really confident in it, then maybe branch out and try some different techniques. Look how beautiful that little bunch is. Very patriotic to me. You got a mixture of patterns and sizes here that really gives that texture and all that beautiful color that represents our country. So I'll be continuing along, and every section that has pipe cleaners on it, I believe I put these stacks on. I might have gone right down the top with it, but I think I do every one. Yes, I do. I'm looking right now, and I do every section. So every place you have pipe cleaners, you will put down your little stack of ribbons all the way around the wreath. Now with this wreath, this is patriotic, but I want you to think outside of the box. You can use this style for any holiday you wanted to. Imagine this same wreath in black and orange for Halloween. Imagine it for Christmas in red and green and white. That would be pretty too. Valentine's Day, red and white and gold maybe. Red and white and black. You can do this so many different ways. Do this for your country. You could also use this as maybe a collegiate type thing. Say you love the Saints. We'll just take the Saints for example because they popped into my head. You could do white, black, and gold. If you do LSU, white, purple, and yellow. Alabama, you could do red and white. You could do whatever you want. I want y'all to start seeing things a little bit differently. Start seeing them with an open mind. Start looking at options and way you can change things up. Go back around to the last bunch. And just like bows, you have to fluff out the ribbon stacks. You fluff everything. Like a flower arrangement, you want to touch all the flowers. You want to move everything. You want to touch everything. Make sure that everything is in place like it should be and everything is pretty. You see right now how everything is kind of squished together and it really does not look amazing. After we cut off these pieces of our pipe cleaners here, you will begin to fluff out every single piece of ribbon that you just put down. The more you do wreaths, the quicker you will be at this process. But it really doesn't take very long at all. Put on the radio, put on your TV. Do a little something, put on a podcast, listen to an audiobook. Keep yourself busy, keep your mind busy, and just go with the flow. The fluffing just really makes a difference. Christmas trees too, y'all. I know we're way off from Christmas, but just like you fluff your Christmas tree, you don't just take it straight out of the box, throw it in a stand, and turn the lights on. No, you've got to fluff those branches. You've got to form them. You've got to make them really realize their potential, right? Really make them look gorgeous. We'll do the same thing. You can already see the difference from one side to the next in this wreath. Look at that. Look at that all fluffed out. It is so full and beautiful. And you know what I ended up, it grew on me because the whole thing, you've got blue on one side and you've got the red and white. It's almost like the flag, right? So we're going to embellish it now. You can use metal stars. You could put something in the center. You can put something off to the side. You can make a large bow to go on it. You could use a little sign from Dollar Tree. Anything you have. You could use more than one sign. You could use Christmas ornaments that match. Just anything. Little figurines that you have. So very many options here. Alright, so here is that trim again. We're going to do a really simple bow with that trim. I'm not going to make this bow really big because if you make it really big, it's going to be way too floppy. This does not have a backing on it, it's just a floppy bow. And I'm okay with it being floppy in the bow, just not in the ribbon stacks. Then we're going to make a bow with this one. And the texture of this ribbon, yes, it does have some wire in it. The texture of this ribbon is like a, almost like a linen type blend, cotton and linen maybe. Then I'll tie those up. These really are the easiest bows. Don't be intimidated by bow making. It just takes a little bit of practice, and really it doesn't take much practice to do them like this. This is like the simplest bow I think you can make. So you just gotta find a place to start and get going, you know? Just get going. I'm gonna layer those together so this looks like one bow. And you can just tie it with the ribbon that is left there. You could just use one piece of ribbon, but I'll tell you, when you're making a bow for a wreath this large and this bulky, if you make too small of a bow, it's going to disappear in the wreath. It won't be worth your effort. You've really got to do something in a big statement piece like this to make it stand out so that it matches the fullness and the quality of the rest of the wreath that's underneath it. So now we have a big bow. We leave the tails long until we get it on so we know how short we want to cut it. And then you can decide exactly where you want to put that bow. And since I split my colors here, I'm going to go right in between that blue and that red, down into the wreath form, and tie on that bow. I am not one for gluing a bow on. I don't feel like it's very sturdy that way. I would prefer to wire them down or tie them onto the frame so we know they're not going anywhere. So when you tie that down into the frame, it's going to pull that bow down pretty low into the frame. So make sure that your bow is big enough that you have enough on the outside to fluff without the bow being, you know, scrunched all down in there. You can see that the loops in the bows are a little graduated, so meaning that the longest one is underneath and the shortest one's on top. That way you can really see it. And then you can trim up the ends any way that you like. Slants, dovetails, whatever. Like I said previously, I like to have finished tails, but you know, I guess if you wanted to leave them straight across the edge, you could, and then just keep them from fraying by, I know some people like to use that little lighter trick. where you kind of singe the edges so they don't unravel. So you could do that if you wanted to, but it's quicker just to cut them and make them pretty. So then make sure you fill up your bow and decide where you want your embellishment. So I'm going to wire this down, it looks like. I'm going to twist that on there. Be careful, if you twist them too tight, sometimes they'll pop out. Like the hanger will pop completely off. I have done that before. I like to edit those things out so you don't have to be bored by it. So down around that bow and into the bottom, just twist that around. I don't pull that one all the way tight to the frame because it would have it misfigured. The top would be buried down and the bottom would be sticking out. I don't want that to happen. I just want it secured but not squished. So I'm just going to pull it up this way. You could also just use some hot glue and glue that down to the bottom of the bow if you wanted to. Just like that. Alright, no worries about not seeing the entire project because you'll see most of them at the end. Now we are working on a swag. We're going to use a little deco mesh, some more of that burlap, some ties, and then look at this beautiful piece. That one came from the thrift store. And then some more of that thrifted red ribbon. I'm loving this ribbon. You can tell I've used it on a couple of projects now. And I think that if you stay kind of consistent in the materials that you use to make projects for one time, like a specific holiday, then all of the things are going to coordinate together when you put them in your house. You know, you're not making a bunch of random stuff, which is fine if you like eclectic. But if you like something that has a little rhyme and a little rhythm, a little reason to it, then you can do, you know, try to have something that is consistent throughout the styles that you do. I try to do that for y'all in my videos when I'm making things. I try to use things that are similar enough that you could do them at one time, that you could use them all together. That's why you see like 3 or 5 of my projects, and in the end screen they all kind of matchy-matchy, I guess. They're similar enough that you could put them in a room together and everything looks like it was intended to be together. So I'm just using this white underneath, and I'm going around with my little ties, and you can see everything that I just did underneath. I don't think I have to explain it to you. I think you know. But by all means, if you have questions in this video, leave them in the comments section. If there's anything that I didn't say or that you didn't understand, put it in the comments and I will be happy to get back with you. Plus, you can find these videos, the original ones, in playlists on my channel page, so feel free to look there if you want to watch the entire thing. We're going to go with these stacks. It looks like 9-inch pieces. So let's see what we're going to do with these. Three pieces, okay? So these are the 3 ones that we're using. Same little technique. You can change up the look of them by lengthening or shortening the length of the ribbon by either cutting in dovetails or slants and using different, let's see, I would say widths of the ribbon. So some 2-inch, some 1-inch, maybe some trim. You know, you can kind of change them up by doing that. You can also change the way that you stack your ribbons, although I have to say that I prefer wired ribbons on the bottom because they give a better shape, and then the other ribbons will kind of lay into that shape, than putting wired on top, because the ones that don't have wire will lay flat. And I don't want that. I don't want the flat look, you know? Not for wreaths and things. So once you have those all in there, this is how that's going to look. Very cute. Where would you use this swag? Possibly above a door, maybe your entry into your home. Maybe you have a short wall and you can hang it long ways. Maybe you have a glass door and you want to do 2 of these, 1 on each of your doors. You can use these on your porch. You know, you can use these swags in the middle of your table if you want to use it as a centerpiece. Certainly up to you. You can get more than one use out of it. So this is how it looks so far. Nice and bulky, and all I used is a scrap of wood to put these on. You can also use a yardstick to do this, definitely. Now here's some options for you if you want to embellish. This is way too big. You can use metal pieces from Dollar Tree, you can use little flags, you can use red, white, and blue ornaments, you can use some of those small Christmas ornaments that are red, white, and blue. Whatever you want to use here, you can definitely use here. So I have a little strip of this white wired ribbon, and it is a burlap. And then I have this stripe over here. And some plaid. Another way you can save money is if, see, all those ribbons could have been found in a Christmas section somewhere, right? So after clearance, when everything is 75, 90% off, go and grab it. Think of all the holidays where you can actually use red and white, or when there's black. You know, those holidays that Christmas, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Valentine's Day. If you use red in any of your Halloween decor, you can use it for that too. Lots of options. Always want to save money. Okay, so now we're working on the bow, and that is my bow maker. I did make that bow maker. I have a video where you can watch that. You can easily find that on my channel. And I'm going to start making a pretty bow for this. I'm just going to layer this on here. You can see exactly what I'm doing. If you have a ribbon that is patterned on one side and not on the other side, you can give it a twist and that will get it in the right direction. Because you want to make sure that you always have your pretty side up. So with this ribbon, it does have the same color on the front and the back, so it's the same pattern, but the stitching is a little bit different. So all I'm doing is flipping it over so that the stitching is in the same direction for the entire bow. Now I'm just pressing that down in there to make it nice and flat. You can use a pipe cleaner, a floor wire, you can use, you know, just whatever you have to tie them together. I'm just using jute. I always have jute left. I take it off of Dollar Tree signs all the time. I have a jar that I keep those in, so I'm constantly recycling the jute off of other things. They make great hangers. They're great for tying bows together. Hang on to that stuff. Now, I don't encourage anybody to be a hoarder, but by all means, if you are a crafter and you are using it, then you're not hoarding it, you're actually using it. So there is a difference. And I kind of borderline on hoarding. Oh my goodness, if you saw my crafting closet. Although it's organized, it's very organized. There's a lot of stuff in there. But I do use it, and it saves me a ton of money because I've been collecting for years. And some things never go out. Rubber bands never go out, pipe cleaners, what else? Super glue. I guess some super glue. I have had Gorilla Glue to go bad on me before. You know, when it becomes solid in the tube. Ugh, that's a mess. And it's heartbreaking too, because that's really good glue and it is not inexpensive. That's an investment. Okay, so I'm going to go down to that stick that is underneath there. And by the way, that stick just came from the thrift store. A pay by the pound store. I got it at the thrift store. I picked that random stuff up that nobody else ever looks at or wants because I can see the potential in it. So I pick it up. So there's the beauty of wired ribbon. That stuff will stick up. It will go right where you want it to go. And just look at the quality. That bow is just standing up there looking amazing. I'm going to dovetail it. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces a little bit shorter. This just gives a little more flyaway to the bow. It gives a little difference, you know, where everything is not the same. All right, I had a couple of pieces left of this, so what am I doing with it? Because I don't remember. Oh, right in the middle of this bow, I'm going to add a little bit of the ribbon with the stars on it, okay? So I just cut that one piece in half and crossed it over to look like two pieces. Okay, yes, I see. Then I'm going to add an embellishment. This is the one that I put on there, although, you know, when you look at this through the camera, that red does not look like the right color for this, the red that's under it. But as I was doing the project, it looked good together. So take that into consideration. Plus it's tied on, it's not glued on, so you can always cut that off and add something else. So here's some stars. You could add here and there all over. You could paint them. You could color them with acrylic markers. I have a necklace that I got at the thrift store, and I'm just cut that apart, and I'm going to empty my beads into a little tin, and I'm going to take the flags and use those in this project. So I'm just going to add them here and there, putting some hot glue on the back. Looks like I dropped that one and then regained control. It looks like I am putting these in the middle of the ribbon stacks, so kind of back and forth, maybe putting those on there. Looks like what I'm doing. Yep. You could find some type of beaded necklace like this at the Dollar Tree that's got some things on it that will match whatever pattern or style that you're doing. But this is just festive to me. Now, because I positioned the bow at the top, this will be hanging up and down. You know, this one looks better, right? This one's from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to glue this one on because this is exactly what I want to go here. I don't want it to move, so I'm keeping it in place there. Give it time to dry. But yeah, as I was saying, that bow, if you wanted this to hang across instead, like across the top of a door, then you put your bow in the middle of it, right? And turn your embellishments to the side. Totally up to you. So remember the cord that we used to tie down the bow? We're going to use that same piece to make a little hanger. Simple, simple. We tied it underneath that piece of pipe cleaner so it will not slip off. This one is super easy, and you could actually, other than this being a star, you could actually have this up in your house all year long if you wanted to. There are some options here. So we got this little, and I thrifted that little wicker, or it's not wicker, it's the little vine star. I knew I wanted to use it for something. I do not want it to blend in with the wall behind it necessarily, because my walls are my mother-in-law had it painted like a buttery yellow, light yellow color. It's not a bad color at all, but you would see that yellow through here, and I want to see a more patriotic color. So this is like a cream color, and it's got some stars on it. Stars probably are not going to be that noticeable unless you're up close to it, but the color of it I think will be a little bit better for what I'm going for. So that, you just cut that out. I just laid it on there, traced it, I'm going to cut it out so that it will fit on the back of my piece. Now see, there's a difference too. Now when I edit, I try to not leave all of that cutting in there because nobody is wondering how to cut. Everybody knows how to do that already. I'm just going to add some hot glue around what is basically the high points or the edges of the back of this star. And this is just going to give it the backing that I want for it. This would also be pretty at Christmas time, I think. These are little thrifted pieces, and I'm going to cut them into pieces. I always like to break my picks down into smaller pieces so that I can use them a little bit better. Use them a little more easily, and I know I'm not going to stand them up in a bottle, so I don't need all that extra stem. I'm just going to gather in my hands some of the blue and white. I think it's very pretty. I did not have any red, and I think at the time I didn't have red berries. I do now, but I don't think I did then. But we are going to bring some red into it shortly. So once I get these in my hand, I'm going to hold them to them tightly and then take some florist wire and just wrap. It's going to make like a little bouquet to put down into this star. I don't want this to poke through that grapevine wreath, and I don't want anybody to see the cheap little stems, so I'm just going to wrap it with a little bit of hot glue and attach it right together. That little pink thing on my hand is a finger protector. For those of you who do not know, you can get those at Dollar Tree, and they're in packs of 3, I think. They're worth the $1.25, most definitely, because you do not want to be burning your fingers when you have to get in tight spaces with glue. Hot glue hurts. It hurts when it sticks to you if you've ever had that type of a burn, so you don't want that. So avoid it at all costs if you can. I've gotten a little more familiar over the years at knowing what I can and can do without my finger protectors, because I am more cautious of what I'm doing. I'm more aware, you know what I'm saying? So I'm less likely to have an accident. It does still happen from time to time though. You can believe that. So this little splash of red and white on the side I think are perfect. And this looks like a picnic to me. I think it looks exactly like a picnic. So cute. I'm just gluing it together, and then I'll just place it down in there. And the glorious thing is that you can just take that little bouquet out and you can replace it with anything you want later. I could also peel off the back because the glue that I used was not Gorilla Glue. It was actually the cheap silicone kind. So you can get it cold and it'll pop right off. All right, this is the very last one, y'all. This I got at the thrift store. It did not have the lights in it, so I guess that's why nobody else wanted it but me. So I'm going to take my paints here and I'm going to fix it up. I'm going to use a little bit of water and some brown paint. This is a very easy stain to make. You're going to be watering down that paint a lot so you can still see your wood through there. It's not, it'd be a little more see-through, I guess, so that would make it a stain rather than a paint. You can still see the wood underneath, and it's kind of a watercolor look. It's a look that I really enjoy. So yes, I am going to paint all around except the USA. I think you can get these little signs at Hobby Lobby, I think. I don't go in Hobby Lobby that often. Mainly for inspiration, because unless I can find something on a steep clearance, I ain't buying it. That was country, wasn't it? I ain't doing it. But I'm just not going to. I know my limits, and I'm not doing it. If I can buy something cheaper somewhere else, then I'm going to focus my attention there. So here are some more of those little bicycle spoke decor pieces, like we used in the first few projects, I think. And I'm just going to clip those off. They'll come straight off the back. So I need to decorate this. And of course we want to use red, white, and blue. I'm going to take red, and you know, use whatever type of red you like best. If you're into primitive, then you might want to use something that's darker or richer, you know, deeper red. But at the time I was doing this project, I was more into the farmhouse look, so that's what we're going to go with here. While I'm painting this, I can say that I have lots of playlists, y'all. I know a lot of people say they watch my videos and they stay watching the videos. They're on the video for like, they'll watch my videos all day long. Well, if you don't know, you can watch the playlist so that you don't have to keep searching and searching for videos or stopping and playing and stopping and playing. When you choose to watch a playlist, they just continue to run until it's over with. Just like one long continuous video. So you can definitely go check out my playlists and see if there's anything there that you like. I'm always adding to them, always. So the sides of this were recessed. So they were, you know, in there about the depth of one of those popsicle sticks. They were recessed. I needed them to be even on the sides because I want to wrap this. So I'm just using these, they're like a thicker craft stick, not a popsicle stick, craft stick. And I'll use those to make up the space between the little slats and where I'm going to wrap it with some ribbon. Yes, we're going to wrap this with ribbon. So this ribbon came from burlapfabric.com. I have used their products, and I am always happy with their products. This one is a red and white. I think it's a cotton. There's no wire, and the edges are kind of frayed, and the look is just beautiful. I love the look of it. And that went all the way around our edges, and it's nice and flush. It does have a couple, you know, it's not completely glued flat down, and that's not what I was going for. I just wanted it on there. I'm going to take some string lights that are thrifted, but you can definitely get yours at the Dollar Tree. To have this much of a look, you're probably going to have 2 pieces though. This is some of that mounting tape that you can get from Dollar Tree. Some people call it nano tape. But look at this. It's a great way to stick that backing on there, and look at the lights in there. How adorable. Now, I don't like that the wire is green. You can see it, but you know, if you can overlook that part, that's a really cool thing. Really cool. So here are some of those projects again to give you another look at the kinds of things that we did today. These are just a few of them. If you like them, I would love for you to subscribe. I have plenty of new patriotic DIYs that will be coming up very, very soon for you to see. I am looking forward to it because I have all kinds of goodies I want to use. Thank you so much for sticking to the end with me. It means the world. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please let me know in the comments that you did so I can take that into consideration. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!